This is really hard to show you this part because I can't really see what I'm doing either very well. Kind of working on a blind spot. Working right down in here, down the short side down here. Very critical area to not to be cutting, just smoothing. Do not cut it. Chills airflow and everybody likes to cut it away. Kind of make a slight taper like a funnel shape, but very, very slight. Just enough to kind of blend into the seat you cut. Okay, it leaves you kind of a sharp edge on the back side. Usually I come in with my radius cutter here, and instead of cutting on the tip out here, I cut over here on this edge over in here. Now if you cut right off the end of the cutter here, you get a sharp edge, and it puts a big groove in your cut where you kind of get a smooth radius. So you gotta be really careful. And this is a really sharp, high-speed cutter, so it wants to cut real quick. So we cut it real low RPM, light pressure. Okay. Then I come back with my dull cutter. Same basic shape, but this one's really dull. Do the same thing. Okay. I put a slight radius onto the sharp edge. It's still a relatively abrupt change. It's better to be that way than have it a large radius there, because the large radius here is not that big of a radius, and the air just turbulates off that edge. It doesn't really follow it. So trying to make it turn, the air won't turn anyway, so if you cut it away, it just makes it worse. You think it's better, but it's worse. Alright. Now we flip it around so we can do the other half. Figure out which side we're going to work on first. There we go. I'll work on this side over here where you can't see. Put all these grinders in the way. Still can't see. Let's see here. Trying to get it where you can see what I'm doing, but it's kind of hard to do, as you can tell. Alright. Come in here. This is the area I already did, so you can see how I got this all radiused in here really nice. That was all the stuff you couldn't hear before. I was over here coming around this edge like this here, getting this all blended, and down in here blending all this. So you make it all nice even, so your finger can go right around like that without digging into anything, and it's nice and smooth no matter which way you go. It's nice and smooth and round and radiused. That's what you're trying to do. Okay, this way over here, basically too high up to see. I can't lower the camera no more, so you see what you see. Right now the port has kind of a shape. Yeah, I can't even see. Pull this back a little bit. Right now the port has a little hump like this to it, without the knuckles. And what I want to try to, and it goes out the port out here. So you got kind of this raised up area, and it goes into the bowl. So I'm going to cut this high spot away, flatten it out like this, to make it a nice even flat area, straight back in your bowl and roll into your bowl like my radius right here relieving. So that's what we're trying to do. So you're at an angle you can't see it, but you can only see the end of the bowl area. And you also got to bring it out to your port line. So initially we're going to use a relatively coarser cutter. So So I got a couple I can use. I can use one of these two here. So this one's more flat, this one's more radiused. I can also go back to this flat fine one too, depending on how much you got to cut. So initially I'm probably just going to hit my fine one. Kind of use it as a feeler so I can see where I got to cut a lot more out of it. It's hard to show what I'm doing, but so this way, maybe see what I'm working on. Pull back a little bit. Okay, the red mark here is where my seal is at, so I want to leave about half my red line. See, that's how much I've been cutting away from that to this. Right now, concentrating from here down to the bottom of the bowl right here is where I'm working. So what I do is I take my cutter. Where'd my cutter just go? Okay, we're using our flat cutter here. And I'm just holding this at one angle. And just working. I pick an angle that I think is going to get rid of the low spot. And the low spot is right there where you see where it hasn't been ground yet. That's the original port right there. I've cut on the way up in there, I've cut. And I'm cutting on the outside, but not in the middle. The middle is a low spot. You know, when you run your finger across there, you can feel it. So what I do is I try to hold my cutter so that I'll get it down to where I want to be here, and then I rotate it slightly up this way until it gets to where I get to the bottom of this cut here, this dip. And I make it a straight mark from here all the way to there. And if I do that, it'll blend right into my bowl, almost perfect. So you got to kind of just work your angle slightly up. You don't want to just dig in like that because it makes it worse. So right now I'm grinding like over here until I just start to see my cutter kind of fog in to the bowl, to the side of the wall over here. And I'm going to do the same thing right down in this area. So it's just, I can't show you from the angle I'm working at, so you'll have to just watch it from the wrong side. Or you can fast forward. Your choice. It takes hours to do this, so we're only going to show one port. We'll come back later and show you more of it done. Let's see if I get further away. You might be able to see a little more maybe, I'm not sure. Alright, we'll try it there. You want to make sure you don't cut too deep on where your intake seal goes or your seal won't seal. So light pressure with a coarse cutter works pretty good. It removes where you want to remove. cut right there. You don't cut too much in some place, you're not trying hard enough. It's getting hard to see where I'm cutting, so I'm going to swap cutter and go back to my camera. Go back to my finer cutter, and that'll leave a different finish so I can see where I'm at. Now you want to make sure you don't dig in down in here. You see I'm on the point. Further in, the more point I get. Points are bad. That means you're making holes. Okay, a little bit of a hole right there still, but pretty clean. Back, show you what I did. Okay, so this wall over here is just about blended nice, and it's real nice through here. It's nice and even and smooth. Okay, down here, you still got a little bit of a dip going on through here. Got my marker right here, called a grinder. So this area right here is low. It's close, but it's low. And I overcut slightly right there. See how thin it's getting right there? And I gotta get back and blend this later. But first you want to get these long arcs figured out. If you get these long arcs working good, then it's easier to blend the whole port. You know, you get this direction set, you get this direction set how you want it, and in between right in here you can blend between here and here and get it to come out pretty even. So you got to break the port up into certain segments to work with it. This is why you go back and forth, because you don't want to be digging holes on the other side either. So this one's pretty good, but there's a little bit more in there than I'd like. So I'll come back and work on that, and I'm going to work on the bottom of this radius. And I don't want to be cutting too much in here, but I will cut some. So once again, you want this to radius up into here. And everything is a radius. So you can see how you look at a different angle, you get a different perspective. Put the finger in there. See, now you can see the radius a lot better when I flip it over. And the same thing when you're porting. If you turn it to an angle where you can see what you're doing, you can do a lot better job. You know, if I'm set up to grind like right here and I'm trying to cut up in here, I just don't have a good feel for what I'm doing. And the same on the other side. I can't cut this side very good because it's actually cutting the roof. I'm up, you know, I'm 180 away from where that is. But you get a pretty good idea of that hole that's right there. That's what's all going to be blended in just like it is right here when I'm done. Alright, so I'm going to shut this off for a while, do a bunch of hand blending, probably waste about a half hour. You don't need to watch all of this, just more or less what I'm doing.